The Lad Bible released an article saying men should masturbate 21 times a month according to quote unquote, I'm doing the quotes, science. This is madness. If you really want to follow the science, then you have to understand and question what is science anyways. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Nakula, and I help men master their sexual energy so you could become a powerhouse both in and outside of the bedroom. When you see articles like this, men should masturbate 21 times a month according to science, you should ask, what do they mean by science? What is science in this day and age? We have to be very honest here. Science is an institution. It's become institutionalized. It's run by institutions and corporations that have profit as their motive, not discovery. Science is no longer about discovering. Because before institutionalization, let's say, of science and the monopolization of science were a few companies. And it's the same companies that own so many things. Our media, big pharma, energy, they're all being owned by just a small amount of companies. And not only do they have profits, but they also have an ideology as well. Because everybody is run by some philosophy, whether conscious of it or not. These guys are run by profits, and therefore science is run by profits. How do you make money? You solve problems. And if there is a problem in which you can create on a mass level and then solve it, you're setting yourself up to be a billionaire. And that's what these companies have learned to do. Science is not for scientists. Science is about discovering. You want to follow the science? Become a scientist and do it yourself. Experiment. People are afraid these days. They don't want to do nothing outside their comfort zone. Like, people don't like to experiment because they're either so afraid of failure, they're so afraid of success changing. What would life be if life changed and things were different? People become, our minds over time weave a certain way of perceiving the world and operating in the world. And it's very difficult to break. And so what we do is we become patterned. And it's those patterns that end up running our life. When you take on the role or the game of, I'm going to become a scientist myself. And that scientist doesn't mean that you went to some university or you went to some school. Scientist means, in the context I'm giving it, someone who is discovering. Do you know the Yogis, we in this age call them mystics, but in their age they were the scientists. And their science was by personal experiment. I'm going to go and meditate 23 hours a day and see who I become. I'm going to try I'm going to put my hand up and just hold it there and see if I can develop my mind so strong that I can do it and see what happens. And then they get all these other benefits. They discovered that kind of science is diminished because the same families and companies, they are politically involved. They run the political spheres now. The Lad Bible is running this article, but in the 2021 Canadian federal election, when I ran for member of parliament in the federal election, the Lad Bible was one of the first sources to make fun of me for semen retention and promoting a regulated ejaculative life. And they made me look crazy to my own neighbors and community. And they wanted to just totally discredit me. And largely it worked from the perspective of politics because people believe this shit. And when you say something that goes so against the culture And the culture right now is just jerking off and watching porn, and they're normalizing it, saying it's now even healthy for you, so that your logical mind could then put a story of like, well, no, actually I should be doing this, babe, because, I don't want to get prostate cancer. And I could just see it right now. You want the Howard Stern said that to me on the show. I don't want to get prostate cancer, so I'm going to jerk off. But in the very same interview, he admitted that when he had a big interview, he wouldn't jerk off so that he shows up better. Go listen to the interview. It's on the channel. It's on my YouTube channel. Just type in Nakula Das Howard versus Howard Stern or something. And listen to we had like a 3-4 minute conversation live on the air about this subject. Science is bought. The same people that run science run the politics. They want to move us into a cashless society. They want to move us into an authoritarian style society. It's like a corporate takeover, but at the biggest levels. And that means they're trying to also shift culture. Because when you shift culture, you shift it's easier to manipulate. It's like if I want to control a pack of dogs, the first thing I'm going to do is castrate them, because when I castrate them, they lose their vital energy. They lose their motivation and drive. And our basic motivation and drive underneath subconsciously, most of our actions is determined by, will this get us laid? As men, we build empires to get laid. They don't want you building empires. They want you taking universal basic income, sitting and being entertained all day, and then when they need you, they'll call you and they'll make you do, your 8-hour shift or whatever. They want to sell you a world where you are even important, because AI can do what you can do, but AI cannot do what you can do. Anyways, that's a whole different video. Follow the science, become a scientist, recognize that science has been institutionalized. It's been taken over. And you cannot trust these things. And I'm not asking you to blindly trust me either. But I am saying to you, if you're wise enough to understand what I'm saying, or you're open enough to be like, okay, maybe there's something to it. And if you've been jerking off since you were a teenager, like most of us have, I know I have, until I discovered and adopted this lifestyle and now teaching it, you probably don't even remember what it's like to the type of energy you had when you weren't like a teenager. Like, think about like how horny is a teenager. Like, you could jerk off 3 times a day as a teenager and be like, I'm still ready. But when you get your 30s and your 40s and your 50s, even in the late 20s, you can't keep doing that. Your body slows down. That's the world. You're not 16 anymore. But if you act like a 16-year-old, now imagine if you had the wisdom of the drive of a 16-year-old and the horniness of a 16-year-old, but the intelligence of a 40, 50, 60-year-old wise man. And you married that drive with wisdom. What kind of empire, business, lifestyle, body, art, whatever your expression is, can be created. That's what they don't want you doing. They don't want you doing that because they want you sick, consuming, and taking pills. And they're like, we'll keep you alive. You just keep depending on us. Depend on us for your travel and transportation. Depend on us for your total economic situation. That's what's going to happen in a cashless society. Depend on us even to get pregnant. Come to the lab and get pregnant. We're going to I saw an article where they were talking about, we will be making the perfect babies because we will perfect it and it will be science. And because in our brains, they recognize the word science holds such weight, what the word God used to hold in people's mind, science now holds that energy, that weight. So they use it. Oh, the science. But the science is not real science because you can't question it. We saw that during the pandemic. You couldn't question nothing. That's not science. That's propaganda. That's agenda. And we need to wake up to it. And that's why it's so important that you master your sexual energy in this world. If you want to have a good life, if you don't want to fall victim to this bullshit, if you want to build an empire, then come build it with me. go take the free sex transmutation guide. And if you're ready to take it to the next step, if you want to increase your business, I'm teaching entrepreneurs how to use this energy and to build their businesses. I'm teaching men how to use this energy to have awesome relationships and, dynamic lives in and outside the bedroom. Teaching men how to become better leaders, because this is a core practice. So once you learn how to transmute it and you have a system to putting it into place, you got a system to building empires. Napoleon Hill showed us that system, and I'm simply closing the deal here by giving you the process of sexual transmutation. So go register or reach out to me directly. Let's connect.